Hello, YouTube. It's your boy, the Passport Bro Wingman, coming at you again with another YouTube video. The title of this video is called Passport Bros or Short Bus. I've seen this many times, says a hater. And the way this video came about was, as you can see on the screen, there was a woman critiquing the Passport Bros. She wrote like a whole article about the movement, and she pretty much said that we're idiots and we all are going to be dumped. And she sees this has happened many times, and she's saying it's a rare exception that you're going to import a wife, and then it turns out well. And there's so many holes in her argument. So anyway, I took the time to read through her article. It was very, very, very painful to read. It was so many false narratives, lots of shaming going on. So I thought, since I haven't put out a video in a while, I wanted to put this out. And I have some more videos coming this week, but I at least wanted to put this out there and get this thing going. I was sorry to keep you guys waiting. I've been pretty busy with work and that kind of thing, but things are, a little bit smoother now. So anyway, without any further ado, let's jump into this article. So we'll go through it. So anyway, she starts off trying to talk about what the Passport Bros are, and she as she stated, we're looking for like trad wives, and then she brought up 90 Day Fiance, and then she says that we're looking for traditional women. And of course, if you read here, look what she put. She said, ironically, I was raised in Eastern Europe, and I couldn't wait to get away from any hint of closed-minded and old-fashioned views of family values. And then she put side note, many Eastern European women are quite progressive nowadays. Um, and if these men choose to look for ladies elsewhere, then good for them, as it doesn't affect my life. After all, women like myself wouldn't date them anyway. And there's two issues with this trend. Then she tries to use the shame in this, saying that I'm not gonna mention that on YouTube, but you can read it. And then she talks about how we're naive, and then she goes on to say that there's very low chance of this relationship working. So let me just pause there. So she tries to pretend that she's not affected, she's not offended by this, the fact that we would go overseas and not choose women like herself. But then as you can see, she tries to put little hints in there to take jabs at us to say that it's not going to last anyway. You guys are looking for a traditional woman. I've come from that culture before, and look at me, I'm in the United States. I don't want any part of that. Basically trying to say that the women overseas, they think the same way that she thinks. And if you do get a woman overseas, when she gets here, she's going to completely change. And even the women that are over there, kind of like they're just, for the most part, faking the funk. It's not going to work out. You might as well stay here and deal with the little sized women and the hard headed women like herself. That's basically what she's saying in a nutshell. This is just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. As I'm going to show you later on, there's actually an article, and I talk about this a lot, where literally they did a study on, like, because back in the 90s and maybe like even the early 2000s, like the mail order bride thing was like really, 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 really huge before like Passport Bros got really huge. That was a thing. So anyway, when they did a study on that, they found out that about 80% of those relationships lasted over the years. So this debunks everything she's saying. Now, in my personal opinion, would it be better to just, when you marry a woman, stay in her country? Yes, it overall would be better, because obviously the culture built up that woman and kind of help her develop her personality and culture and that kind of thing. So it's obviously always going to be better to um, stay with the woman in their natural environment, versus you bring them to the United States where things are a little bit more chaotic. But what she's not really taking into account is that a lot of times, some of these women, a lot of times, because of the language barrier, English is not their first language. So a lot of times when they do get over here, even when they do learn language, you still got to understand that there's going to be certain nuances in the language, in the culture, that they're not going to really understand. It's not going to be the same. And if you notice, a lot of times when foreigners generally do come to the United States, if you notice, they go to their own enclaves. You have things like Little Italy, you have Little Haiti, like the Cubans, they have their own little section. So what I'm trying to say is not like if you notice, like a lot of them, especially even the migrants you see now, if you notice, they're coming over here, they're still speaking Spanish. They bring their culture when they come here for the most part. If you notice that, it's not, if you notice, a lot of them don't really assimilate like you would, like a lot of people kind of want them to, but you notice they don't really do that. So just something to keep in mind. So that's continued through this article. It was really dumb. And then of course she goes on to say, okay, she talked about that. Um, yeah, then she goes on to insult us. Mostly it is who get dumped within a few years after marrying their mail order bride. Then she goes on to kind of describe who the passport bros are. Complete, yeah. Not every person who has a relationship with foreign is a passport bro, passport sis. So basically, she goes on here to talk about how a lot of the women in these other countries, they're watching United States shows. They all think they're gonna be like, Sex in the City. They're gonna be like the women on Friends and that kind of thing. In other words, they have these big visions in their hand of what America is like. Now, there is some truth to what she's saying, but she thinks that when the women get here, they're gonna try to be like, what's the word? They're gonna try to have that city girl life where they're just messing around with multiple men, and they're engaging in a lot of a lot of the same behavior that a lot of the American women engage in, and it's not completely true. Um, Obviously, there is some truth to a lot of people thinking that all Americans are rich and we all drive BMWs and that kind of thing. But I don't know if you noticed, you've been watching lately the news. There's been a lot of migrants that actually got here, and they said that the American dream is dead. And what did they do? They went right back to their country. um they, in their mind, they thought they were gonna get here, and everything was gonna be the way they saw it in the movies, and it wasn't necessarily like that. But keep in mind that there's a lot of foreigners that don't necessarily want to come to the United States. They like their life where they're at. They're doing well. She got in her mind that everybody is, while there are some people surging the border, everybody's not necessarily surging the border. There's plenty of women who are like, nurses, nurses, doctors, teachers, going to school, trying to live their life in their own country. And in many cases, a lot of the people that actually are coming towards the border, if you notice, a lot of time, what are they doing? They're sending money back home. A lot of them, for the most part, they're just going to gather up their money to go back to their country because they already see that the exchange rate of the dollar versus their dollar is very strong. So they're trying to take advantage of that. So in many cases, the money they get here is not going to, as you can see, they're not going to be living. I don't know if you notice, like, so you've been watching some of the news, but they're not living like um, the best positions. And then also, as I keep telling people again, you also got to understand that if you do the 90-day fiance visa, it's not like you get over here and then they become a citizen. They can do what they want. They can work. It doesn't work like that. When they get here, they still have to wait on a green card, and then even then, it doesn't make them a citizen. You have to go through at least, I think it's like about 2 years. You have to do multiple interviews. Um, and if there's any, and if any point the guy feels like there's some guy or woman, maybe some woman who's married like a foreigner, at some point if you feel like you've been defrauded, you can nullify the marriage, and the person will be, they can be deported at that point. So, in many cases, a lot of a lot of the women, they're aware of this. So and keep in mind as well that a lot of the women, when they do marry passport bros and they come back to the United States, they don't really speak the language. A lot of them don't have family here. In many cases, you're going to be their only family. So since you're going to be their only family, they're going to be dependent on you for everything. So think about how difficult it's going to be for women to, let's say, like in this woman's mind, the women are just some type of gold digger that just wants to use you to get over here. She's gonna have to be very, what's the word? Very cold. Like, put it this way, it's gonna take a strong mind to do that because think about that, for a whole 2 years, she's gonna have to live with you and fake like she's into you for a whole 2 years, listen to you. And remember, she can't work. She can't work for at least, I believe it's like 6 months. So she's gonna be solely dependent on you. Does that sound like something that a lot of women just like, if they're trying to scam you? Does it sound like that's something that they want to, that they will want to tolerate and live through? a whole 6 months to 2 years with some guy that they don't even care about just to try to use them for some money to get a green card. That's typically not the way they're going to scam you. If they were going to scam you, what they're going to do is they're going to stay in their country and they're going to try to get you to send the money. And they're just going to try to exploit you from your country while they're in their country. That's typically the way that a lot of scammers are going to do it. They're not going to try to go to your country and go through the whole process of immigration and doing a fiance visa and then leave with you and then live with you, meet your mother and do all that stuff for like 2, 3 years. Now, I'm not saying it has never happened. I'm not saying that no one has ever got scammed, but probability is very low. And I just told you about the study where they said 80% of these relationships, they tend to work out and they tend to go the distance. So, and, I mean, and even besides all that, there's literally like, yeah. Besides all that, for example, in Colombia, there's a lot of women who come from like the smaller towns there, and they look at Medellin as like this big city area where they've made it, and a lot of them want to come there because they know there's a lot of jobs and opportunities there in Medellin. So a lot of the women, Colombian women for these other little cities, they'll go. Like pretty much what I'm trying to say is most women in general tend to be hypergamous. They're always looking for a better opportunity. Women in general like to nest. They like nice places to nest. So that's gonna, even without the movies, they're gonna already have, to some degree, women already have that mentality. As a lot of people keep saying in general, all women of all backgrounds, to some degree, value money. They value money to some degree. They value having living in a nice area and that kind of thing. If they had the opportunity to do so, they would do so. So that's, I mean, even if they didn't watch Sex and the City, these other movies, they have their own version of that. I mean, there's a rapper named Kali G, and she, she kind of in her video she talks about living big, being almost like the equivalent of a Cardi B. So that's like their Colombian version of Cardi B. So they have rappers and um singers talking about the good life and driving BMWs and all this other stuff there. So that's already there. That doesn't, I mean, like this means nothing. Um so that's going. So she's and then she goes on to, let's see, talking about she knows a few people that did the 90 Day Fiance thing, and she's trying to say that in this case the guy that did get a foreign wife and it worked out. Basically, he was a guy who wasn't, as you read here, he wasn't a creep who would seek ladies in their 30s or 40s who were almost half his age. Um, and he didn't despise local women. It was just hard for him to meet one. Trying to say, basically, for the most part, just trying to say that, trying to trying to infer that all the passport bros, they were all these creepy men who prey on women who are like half our age, and we despise all the local women. We completely yeah. I don't want to. There's a few words I want to use, but I gotta be careful on YouTube. But there she goes again with the shame and attack us, and all this really is I hate to say it. It's like some of these women who are like, because I'm assuming now because she brought that up, she's more than likely a woman past 30 at least. I can't see her being in her 20s. So what this is a lot of these women who past 30, they're very jealous of the younger women, and I'm sure they've noticed that a lot of men in general tend to like young women. So they're not really checking for women who are in their late 30s and 40s. So what she's trying to do is shame us into wanting to date them. We don't like, that's not what we're that's not gonna be our first preference. It's just not. Especially if I'm leaving outside of the country. You leave outside the country to try to do, put it this way, if I have to go outside of my state to look for a job, that job better have some additional perks that my current job doesn't have. So yeah, when you go outside of the country, we're gonna be looking for something, a little bit more what's the word? Yeah, we're gonna be looking for like kind of like our bang for a buck for the most part. So, it is what it is. It's nothing wrong with that. Let's see what else she was saying. It was because this was a very painful article to read through. But like Jay Z said, I did that so you didn't have to. So I kind of took one for the team on this one to kind of read through this. But if you still want to read it, I'm sure I don't know if you can. Pretty much what I'll do is I'll leave a link in the description if you want to read through this article. It was just very painful to read this. And then she goes on to describe why we're unhappy and why we're going overseas. And look at some of her talking points. They are against the idea of modern Western women. Um, yeah, instead, what did she say? Like, we don't want a modern, confident, and independent woman who doesn't need a man to survive. Like it was in the last century, women were not allowed to have banking accounts, go down, get high paying jobs. She pretty much trying to say they were treated like furniture, not actual humans. This is just this is just such bad faith. And let me say this: most men in general, include myself, I believe most men in general, there are different phases of feminism. Most men in general, including myself, we're not against the first phase, which is just women just saying she just wants to have the opportunity to work. Okay, men went off to World War II. They went off. There were jobs there. We needed somebody to fill those jobs. Some women went in there and they filled those jobs. Okay, okay, you want to work your little job, and then think about some of the women who are like single mothers, or let's say like her husband died in the war or something, and she has to find a way to provide for her family. I have no problem with that woman finding a job, to take care of her family. We're not against this. I mean, this is just ridiculous. This is just pretty much trying to say that we're trying to be controlling, and I mean, it's saying, yeah. So I mean, and at the end of the day, I mean, if you don't want a man, I mean, that's fine. You can live alone. I mean, no one's gonna like men. That's the reason why we're getting the passports. Literally, that's like saying, oh, McDonald's doesn't want to pay people $40 an hour. They don't want to pay them $40 an hour. They want them to be in a position where they just really really need the job. They could pay them pennies on a dollar and stuff like that. The way McDonald's is looking at it is, hey, this is all I have in the bank to pay. But these people here, they don't want it. So you know what? Let me go find a foreign person. Yeah, a person overseas where maybe that guy makes $3 an hour, but I'll pay him, $8, $10, something like that, and he'll be happy with that. I mean, like, what is basically what I'm trying to say is, if there are jobs there that nobody wants, and somebody else wants to fill those jobs, what's wrong with them finding a person that wants to fill those jobs? Same thing with us. We have like think of love almost like a product. We have a product that we want to sell. You don't want that product. You say this product is crappy. We say, okay, but we know some people overseas that want to buy that product. So we go to that person, we give them the product, they enjoy the product. That's pretty much, I mean, it's pretty much common sense. So at the end of the day, if you feel like you don't need a man, you don't want, cool. We're cool with that. We're not complaining about it. We in her mind, she thinks we're still here on a plantation fighting with her, trying to get her to need us. We don't care if you need us or not. It means nothing to us. It means nothing to us. At the end of the day, you're the one that's going to suffer. At the end of the day, you will be 50, 60, 70 years old at some point, and you're going to wish and hope you had either a husband or some children to look after you in your older years. That is one of the benefits of having marriage and having kids. If you have a family, you have a family unit, you guys can work together, you can build wealth. And in many cases, the way the a lot of the cities in the United States work, you can't really survive off one income. It's going to be incredibly hard, which means both men and women to some degree, we need each other to some degree. Now, in your case, I'm assuming because you wrote this article, you probably some woman that makes maybe $100,000 a year. But my problem is this: that's fine. If you want to go be a cat woman, that's fine. But why are you giving bad advice to the women who are going to need husbands and children? Every person in general is not going to make 100K. The average salary is only about $50,000, which means most people are going to need somebody else in their life. And all you're doing is making it more difficult for women to be successful and find a husband and build a family. It's just ridiculous. But let's go to a second talking point. What else you saying? My issue is with the potential of being trapped in a marriage that's not going well, becoming a victim of abuse, or being unhappy but not having the means to live. Means to live. So basically, what you're trying to say is that I guess the woman will be she'll be staying with you. You're abusive, and now she can't leave, and all the stuff like that. I mean, there's so many programs in the United States that's helping women. You got all types of Section 8. You got all types of battered women shelters. Um, it's just ridiculous. I mean, it's just getting ridiculous at some point. And not to mention that you have that when most marriages end, you still have to pay some type of alimony. Alimony, and in many cases, divorce is just tearing men apart. ripping men apart, making them give them 50% of all their like everything they saved up. So it's not like you just go back to nothing. This is just false. It's completely false. And at the time, she's also not considering the fact that you probably have children at this point. If you have children in general, they're going to go with the mother, which means the man is still going to have to pay you money to take care of the children. In many cases, they're not checking to see where this money is going. I mean, I think like what was it? I think Nick Cannon pays like a couple $1 million a year in like child support or something like that. I think how much was Tyrese paying? He was paying at least it was a very high number that was beyond what you would even need to take care of a child. So that's stop this stuff about every man is the color purple and all this stuff like that, and men are just going around beating women left and right. In many cases, the women are leaving the marriages. They're leaving the marriages. Men are not chasing these women away. You can't say in all these cases men are just being abusive and chasing women away. This is just false, man. This is getting ridiculous. Here's the second point. They hate the idea of women being independent. Not every man wants to treat a wife to gain her development independent. As we keep saying, do what you want to do. If you want to be independent and do whatever you want to do, that's fine. That's the whole purpose of a passport. It helps us search around, and that's find a woman who does want somebody in their life. It has nothing to do with being like independent. Like do whatever you want to do. But you can't have independence and then protection at the same time. If you're independent of me and you're walking down the street and some guy comes, he blacks your eye or something like that, don't look to me to come to protect you. I can't protect anything I don't have control of under. But when I'm in my household, my wife, my kids, those kind of things, somebody attack them, you doggone right, I'm going to defend them against this person because they're within my hands. And that's really, I mean, and this is really like, I really hate to go there, but like, I mean, the man is pretty much the head of the household. That's the way traditionally it's been in all cultures across the world. It has always been that way. The only way you feel, as we keep saying it before, the only reason you feel that way is because you have the United States financial machine behind you. But in other countries, for example, Colombia, since there's so much talk about Colombia right now, you got cartel people going left and right, breaking into people's houses, throwing them out, taking over their house. And those kind of situations, what's the first things women gonna do when they got a gang approaching the city, taking it over? Most of the women, you're not gonna stand up and fight off these. You're gonna look to the men to do this. But I thought you were independent. I thought you didn't need our help. There is a reason why most countries in the past that were like matriarchs, they didn't last. Those cities didn't last. They got taken over. Even now, what's keeping a lot of you women protected from like Russia and China and all these other countries trying to attack the United States is our military, our army, which is made of what? Majority men. Me, myself, and all the men in this country, we have to apply. We have to. I think it's when you turn 18, you have to. I think it's you have to apply for the draft, like the not apply for the draft, but you have to be signed up for the selective service. So in case there's a draft, you gotta go fight, defend women like this who is talking all this independent and I don't need you, you men ain't worth nothing stuff. This is just ridiculous. That's why people saying we should make, if you feel this way, we should make you sign up for selective service. You can go out there and shoot it out with those people over there. Like right now, we almost at the stage of World War III, and you talking about you don't need a man. You say that until Russia shoots a missile or something over here, starts blowing stuff up. All these like let the power grid go down. Let the power grid go down. I don't know if you saw the situation that happened in Louisiana when the dam went down and that water surged everything, and you saw people looting and there was crime everywhere. I promise you, those women during that time, none of them were thinking about, oh, I don't need no man. They were looking for protection at this point. So you can miss me with this. This is just getting ridiculous. And I think our last point, I'm gonna kind of stop here because this is getting kind of painful. And I'm gonna let you guys read the rest, but because after that she kind of ends. She pretty much just tried to say that they want the benefits of a marriage, but not responsibility. They want it to be one sided. We're supposed to. They believe they saved their wives from poverty in another country. Therefore, the wives should be eternally grateful. As a gratitude, they must take care of themselves for the rest of their life. What is a relationship? Look, she said she will be a cook, a maid, a sex slave, and emotional support, human, and so on. Heteroparental are not very interested in providing the same benefits to their wife. This is just insane. This is just insane. When you look at how many simps we got in this country, you got men marrying corn stars. You got men. There was a man. I'm not gonna mention his name. He's a YouTuber. He's in an open marriage. Wife was messing around on him. He stayed completely behind his woman, trying to actually, what's the word? Uh, Trying to protect the view of this, just telling me this is like the best arrangement in the world. She finally wound up leaving him. Um, it's just ridiculous. And then I don't know. In one of my previous videos, I showed that most American men, we have like the least out of all the countries. We have like the least amount of like domestic abuse out of all the countries. Most men in the country are not the men from the color purple. This don't make no sense. It's getting ridiculous. It's getting ridiculous. She talks about ex-slave and all that kind of stuff like that. Okay, so primarily, what are men bringing to the table? We're basically bringing our finances and our protection. What do you bring to the table? You can provide us with marriage. You can provide us with sex, and you can provide us with cooking and cleaning, all the traditional things. That's the whole purpose of a marriage. I mean, both people in a relationship are providing something. I mean, in many cases, if you didn't provide that, what's the whole point of us even getting married? It doesn't make any sense. All the other stuff you're providing, I can pretty much get that on my own. I can, like for example, cooking. I can cook. Emotional support, as Kevin Samuels said, get a dog. I mean, I don't really need you for that. I want you for that, but it's not really necessary. So that's not like, because you're talking about you want us to be cooks, maids, and everything else, but you got women out talking about they don't know how to cook. They don't want to cook. So why wouldn't I just go somewhere else and find a woman who likes doing it? That's part of their culture. Plenty of Filipinas having videos talking about how they cook for their men. That's part of their culture. It's nothing to do with being with because again, at the end of the day, like Myra from Fresh Affair said, most women in general, they don't date down. You tend to date men who are at your level or higher. So again, if I'm making more money than you, if I'm making more money than you, what are you bringing to the table that I should sacrifice that and risk my finances and go risk 50% of what I have to be with you, even though I'm doing better before I even met you, and even though now I'm with you, I'm adding additional value, you have additional funds to pull from. And in many cases, as they keep saying, most women are very tight to their purses. They're not sharing their money they get from their job with their husbands. So again, for me to do all this and to be protecting you, what are you giving me? So yeah, you're gonna cook, you're gonna be the maid, you're gonna me and you gonna get it down in the bedroom. Of course, that's gonna happen. This is just you want something for nothing. You just want to sit and just say because I exist, that's all I should give to you. I shouldn't have to do anything. What this is why men are walking away from marriages and just saying I would just rather shack up. That way, if you act up, you start talking like this woman, then I'll just wish you a good well. I wish you a goodbye, and then I'll just go overseas somewhere where women are looking for marriage. So yeah. So if you want to read this article, it's called. You can see the title. Pastor Bros are idiots who will be dumped. I saw this happen many times. Her name is Joanna Henderson. You can read her article. It was very painful to read this. You can read it thoroughly if you want to. Makes no sense. Pastor Bros, we up. I'm gonna end this video here. You guys tell me what you think in the comment section about this whole article. This woman is just insane. As you can see, it just got me very annoyed. She got me this article got me very annoyed. So please subscribe to my channel if you have not. Hit the thumbs up, the notification bell. And until next time, this is your boy, the Passport Bro, Wingman, signing off.